right, everybody, we're live. We got an early morning edition of Jits-Jargon. Just finished the 5:30 a.m. session.
That is right.
And we're going to be coming at you real soft. It's early morning session. We're going to be talking books today. We're going to be talking... What did you want to talk about? You wanted to talk about Tex Johnson?
I definitely wanted to cover that. We haven't talked about what happened with William Tackett. And, Tex Johnson. That's, even though it happened a while ago, and for some it's kind of old news. It's still, I think, news that kind of fits in the things we've been talking about in the past.
Okay.
On the podcast, Also, the big news about somebody retiring from competition.
Yes. All right. So let's talk about Tex first.
Right.
So you go for it. Go for it.
All right. So for those of you that have no idea, and for those of you that do know, and this sucks because I really don't remember what competition it was, but I know that William Tackett and Tex Johnson had a match, and there was a passing attempt on Tackett's part where, for whatever reason, or was it an attack? But for whatever reason, Tex Johnson from his butt just punches William Tackett.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't like an overhand right, like from hell, like Mark Hunt throwing it or something like that. But it was like, it was obviously not a push away, like he said. It was very bizarre. It was a closed fist.
Yeah.
He hit him. William Tackett looked and responded like, what the hell? They kind of stopped it for a second. And then bizarrely, I was surprised they let the match continue after that. So not only did they let the match continue, but I believe Tex Johnson won.
Yeah, you're right. He did.
By decision?
Yeah.
Was it decision, right?
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
So he wins the match. How many fucking passes is this guy getting? Like, as a jiu-jitsu community, right, how many passes?
Yeah.
It's like, before, like, I kind of went into it, and I afterwards, in hindsight, I was thinking about it, and I felt bad, right? But then he gets on social media after all this shit. I think, in my opinion, and you know what? I don't even give a shit if people, like, are offended by this, but that social media post where he's calling out Gordon Ryan, he looks drunk as fuck.
He does.
He looks drunk as fuck and sounds drunk as fuck.
I agree.
Okay, and I don't know, man. Like we're supposed to be a tight-knit community, right? And, we have assholes in MMA and everything like that, but in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's one thing to sell tickets. It's another thing to kind of be a shitty human being and say what you want about some of the higher level people, right? That have come and that are, Gordon Ryan. A lot of people talk shit about Gordon Ryan because of his attitude and shit like that. But, he's also not being accused of sexual misconduct. He's also not punching people in the face.
Yeah.
He's also beating the best people in the world, hands down.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, I'm not here, on a Gordon Ryan campaign, but at the same time, like, my thing with Tex Johnson is I just don't understand why he's still entertained amongst high-level grappling organizations.
Yeah. Why
people are still wanting to see him compete. I don't ever want to see the motherfucker compete again.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care how good he is. Right? It does. I don't know. It's insane to me. And I think there's like some serious, I think there's some obvious roid rage problems. I think there's some obvious, substance issues. And it's probably all stemming from what's going on upstairs. And maybe he isn't healthy enough to compete. And it doesn't stop here. All right? We didn't... When Paul Harris was, not letting go of taps, nobody said anything.
Right.
Right? But then people started being like, okay, well, this is a problem. And then he was banned from MMA.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I don't know. That was even, right? Even then, it was not the same as, punching somebody in the face in a grappling match. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's it was in its right screwed up, just as this is, and nothing's being done about this. I just don't understand it. That's the thing. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. So this is when this first happened, and we were talking about it a little bit on the first episode of the podcast. That we were talking about whether or not it is morally correct to keep someone like that on your booking and in your gym.
Absolutely.
And regardless as to whether or not the accusations are true, I just feel like when something like that happens, you kind of have to feel the weight of it and act accordingly.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like we said, he was accused of a violent sexual crime. I don't know what has come of that.
I honestly don't know if anything's come of it. It doesn't seem like anything's coming of it. I haven't been able to find any information on it.
Yeah.
I do know that when this thing happened with Tackett, though, people were questioning what happened with it.
Yes.
That was the first time I saw, like, hey, wasn't this guy accused of, like a sexual, act on, like, an aggressive sexual, like, altercation with a former student?
Yeah.
Or somebody that he formerly had a relationship with, and now, so people were at least asking the question again after this happened.
Yeah, and that was another thing we were talking about. Is we were like, why is this not a huge topic of conversation?
Yeah.
He's still competing at ADCC. Why are we not talking about what's going on with this guy?
Yeah.
And we're just going, hey, Tex is going to be at ADCC.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, and the competition that the William Tackett thing happened, that I think it was the BJJ Fanatics.
It was
Black Belt Invitational,
it was the
right?
Fanatics. It was
Yeah.
BJJ Fanatics. That's right. Because I remember afterwards, I was actually shortly after I was training down in a facility. I won't say what it was, just because I don't want to carry the name of who said what. But I remember hearing before even seeing the event that what had happened the other night on BJJ Fanatics was bullshit. This person was like really heated over it, and I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. I thought it was like a bad call, right? So then I was like, I got back from training, got home, started shifting around, looking at the results, and yeah, that's when I saw the issues.
Yeah, and I think I think what happened was Tex was going for a heel hook, and
That's
I think
what it was, yep.
Tackett just he pushed
he
off
pushed
of him
away
with
and-
his foot.
Yeah, and he popped up, and when
Right.
he got onto his feet, that's when Tex just
yeah,
slugged him.
Yeah, he threw a
It's like
right hand,
a
hit him
short
right on the
little-
jaw.
The right hook that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and then he threw the hands in the air like, "What'd I do?" And then he gave
That's the thing. It was an immediate response.
Yeah.
It was like catching a kid with their hand in a cookie jar, and then immediately like, I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
I have 4 kids. I know what it looks like.
Yeah, yes. And I was just going to say, he did that thing where he was like, I thought it was a closed palm. I've done shit like that before. I knew that it wasn't a closed palm. That's little kid stuff. That's a little kid excuse,
Yeah, that's a
like,
closed palm.
Yeah, like
That's a fist, sir.
And
when you close your palm, it's a fist. Right?
Exactly. Like, you knew what you were doing. So I agree. I'm not terribly interested in seeing Tex Johnson compete anymore. At least until he gets whatever is going on sorted out. And I also would like to, know what's going on with the accusations that were against him. I hope the woman that, this was centered around is doing okay. But back on mental health issues and jiu-jitsu competitors,
Absolutely.
It reminds me of somebody else that has had some interesting things happening lately in Herbert Santos.
Okay, I mean, we're talking about the back out, the kind of that, and then the falling out that kind of happened off of that. Go ahead.
So he's had a number of different things happening, but I think the most recent one was the Spider Invitational.
Yes, that's what I was talking about. Yep.
When he was going against Marigali, and he just kind of gave up at a certain point in the match. I don't know what transpired exactly. Maybe he felt like, the ref did him dirty, or Marigali did him dirty in a transition, and he just stopped.
Yeah.
And he let Marigali take an Americana on him, which, by the way, Americanas don't happen very often in competition, especially not the highest level black belt.
No, and then after that, everybody was like there was people coming forward being like, I don't even want to see this dude compete again, because apparently this isn't the first time he hasn't agreed with something and kind of just gone that route and just kind of just not have competed anymore, in front of everybody, or just kind of laid there and just that's it. I don't know, man. I mean, he also didn't he have that match with Gordon Ryan organized?
Oh yeah,
right. And then they were offering him countless amounts of dollars, and he was the one that wanted it originally, but then he wanted more money, and then they got it to happen.
Yeah.
And then he still backed out.
He was making crazy demands, like he wanted his
Yep.
whole team to be paid for to
Yeah, it
get
was
thrown
crazy,
over,
yeah.
flown over there, and then he
Sounded
ended
like he
up
just
backing out.
didn't want to roll against him.
Yeah. So, and that is something that, to me, I look at someone like that and I say this guy's got some mental health issues.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say, oh, crazy Erbirth, I hate this guy. I don't want to see him compete anymore, because he's a savage and he's a great competitor. I would like to see him return to form.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's not like Tex Johnson. He's not hurting anybody. He's just exhibiting some very bizarre behavior. Oh, with the exception of when he charged the crowd at that one competition. He body checked that poor girl. I don't know what was going on with that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Oh, so one of the things, just kind of overall, and I think this is important, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not... It is literally therapy for people.
Yeah.
It is literally therapy for people. It's therapy for me. I have post-traumatic stress disorder. If not for jiu-jitsu, I don't think I would have actually had the courage to go get help for it and seek out treatment. And every day is a fucking struggle with it. So I understand completely about mental health. And that being said, you would be surprised how much alcoholism and mental health issues run rampant amongst coaches and practitioners in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it's because a lot of this, again, is therapy for some people, and they self-medicate.
Yeah.
Now, from somebody who talks about how... I always talk about how Jiu-Jitsu helped me so much, but it was not a permanent fix. Right? Jiu-Jitsu gave me the courage to realize that I had the power to do things, and I had the power to make things happen regarding myself. And over time, it didn't happen overnight, but after years of practicing Jiu-Jitsu, it wasn't really until like my brown belt years that I realized, Jiu-Jitsu only went so far. You need to seek out other help. Like, you need to really figure out what's going on and work on it. And that's the only way that I started to fix the issues that I have. And honestly, I say started because it's always good. It's going to be a nonstop thing. It takes constant work, just like everything else. Yeah. When Kurt Osiander recently, not recently, but fairly recently, checked in the a facility to recover from alcohol.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Everybody was some people were taken back. Some of the community was like, oh, finally, blah, blah, blah. But that takes a lot, man. Like, that's somebody that, like, you don't know, right? And even with Tex Johnson, I don't want to see the guy compete again. That's what I'm saying, right? I don't know what's going on with him, right? And, if he gets, I'm sure anybody can get help, right? Anybody can get help. But not everybody is willing to ask for help, and not everybody is willing to take help. Right. So now we're outside the box. When you have those people that are suffering from these issues, it's obvious they are. I feel like as a community, we have to be like, okay, you're not well enough to compete, and we're going to stop entertaining this. Yeah. Right? It's like, because I don't think that people are, maybe I'm wrong. I know when I'm buying tickets to go see a jiu-jitsu event as a jiu-jitsu, as a practitioner, as a coach, I'm going to watch the event. I'm going to watch the sport. Yeah. I'm not going to see, Erbith charge the crowd or lay there and get caught with a, Americana and everybody be like, that never happens. He gave up, blah, 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 blah. I'm not looking to see, Tex Johnson, punch William Tackett in the face. Like, I'm going to see jiu-jitsu. So, unfortunately, there may be those people that are, looking at this and being like, oh, this is juicy. But I feel like the respect for the art, our lineages, where it comes from, should be embedded enough that we don't, we don't put up with this.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move on to our other topic of conversation, the other big one, which is Gordon Ryan is done. He says he's done.
He says he's done.
I don't know if I believe it, but he has put it out there that he is retiring from competition.
Yep. And, when I first read that the social media post that he had put out, like, I guess I can, I can't relate to it, but I could see it. Like, I could see where he's coming from. Because nobody's going to be able to relate to it because this he's won so much at such a young age, right? But one of the things that resonated with me in that post is, he was talking about his recent schedule, how much training, how much competing he was doing, and how much time he spent with like the people around him. And I feel that. Like I feel that like when you train hard, you got to make sacrifices. And when you're younger, those sacrifices aren't there, right? But you know, when you get somebody in your life you care about, and you start to realize that there are other things important than, you know, just winning, it changes the way you think. You know, I don't train as much and as often as I used to. I used to pull like 6 days a week, 2 times to 3 times a day religiously.
Oh boy.
Right? The second, you know, I got a family together again, you know, and I got married, you know, not just got into a serious relationship again, had my youngest son Cash, and then we had 4 kids in the house.
Yeah.
It's you want to be there with your family, right? So it might just be that's starting to hit home now.
Yeah.
You know, he's been in the relationship with his girl for a while. You know, maybe he's tired of being away from his family for so long. Maybe he's starting to wonder, I've beat all these people, and yet he still has to listen to people like talk shit. Still has some drunk asshole calling him out on Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like all this shit going on. I don't know, man. You know, like I can see it, but at the same time, is he retiring or is it a retirement where he's after the Gavao super fight, which he has said he's going to honor all of his contractual agreements this year. Right? I think that would close off on the Andre Gavao super fight at ADCC.
I think that's 2021 though.
Is it?
Yeah.
So is that not
every
happening?
2 years. Like I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they actually ever agreed on it, because Galvao was also kind of saying, you know, I might be done. We'll see when it gets closer to ADCC. I'll see if I want to come back and defend the title.
Man, I thought after the last ADCC there was only one thing we needed to see.
I know.
I
Me
was
too.
just like, I just kind of think it's just him and Ryan just one time. And
Yeah.
honestly, if that's the case, that'd be a good way to go out.
I agree.
And it would also be a good way to go out of grappling and maybe make a transition into another sport, which, again, could be something maybe he's looking at.
Yeah.
Which, you know, then we talk about MMA, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, you know what I was thinking about with Gordon and his retirement? Because I was complaining on social media about his matchups lately, the super fights that they've been giving him. And I'm just like, I don't care, you know. I don't want to see him grapple Gabriel Gonzaga, you know. Like the Alexei Olenek fight was kind of interesting on paper, but these guys they're just so outmatched in the grappling department. And I was thinking Gordon might be thinking, like, what am I doing? I'm not getting the matchups that I want. I beat all of the guys that I needed to beat. The few that are left, they're not taking the fight, and I'm getting matched up with these middle-aged MMA guys, and I'm just squashing them. Like, what's the point, you know?
Really, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's the point? And again, and none of us can really put ourselves in there, but at the same time, I can understand the train of thought. Like, I can understand, because, like, you know, competition, it's not the reason for jiu-jitsu.
Right.
It's a consequence of loving jiu-jitsu. That's just how it is.
Right.
So, at some point in time, right? Maybe enough's enough.
Yeah.
You know, maybe enough is enough. I mean, if you're doing it to test yourself as a martial artist, how many damn times has he tested himself? And like you said, there's nobody that's really taken it that he wants anymore.
Yeah.
Like he said he's interested in certain matches and certain people aren't fighting him, and it's just like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as far as, like, there are a couple of rematches I would like to see. I'd like to see him and Pena again, just because, you know, they're two of the best. I would like to see Kyle Boehm get a shot at him.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, yeah.
I think that would be a great matchup. And I want to see the Vinny Mag rematch.
Yeah.
And obviously Andre Galvao. I think that's it. Those are the matches. After that, right off into the sunset, dude. Like, you've done enough. You have my blessing. But I would really like to see those matchups before he goes. Who knows if he's serious? You know, maybe he'll come back in a year and, you know, destroy No-Gi Worlds one more time.
You know, I will say this. I do know people that do, like, you know, train with the Henzo crew and stuff like that, and have attended classes that he's taught and been in the room while he's training, or, you know, been around while he's training. And one of the things that I have heard is he's a very good coach. A very, very good coach. I've heard that he's an amazing coach. I've seen Gary Tonin coach firsthand. I've cornered against him with some of my kid students a few times, and seen him countless times. He's been in a corner with one of my opponents in the PGL 10, and he's an amazing coach too. So I could see how that translates.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that if he does step away from competition, I mean, it's only just going to make the art better if he sticks with it as a martial artist, which I see him doing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's put a lot into it. So he's just going to make, I think, the art better overall, help it keep evolving. And, we may look at him like we look, I'm sure we're going to look at him later down, like 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, like we looked at, some of the best that came up, back in the day. I think that he's going to be like, we're going to talk about him the same way we talked about Marcelo Garcia. We're going to same way we talked about Hodger Gracie, things like that, because those guys, love them or hate them, they change the sport. Just how it is.
Yeah, he's going to be a bullet point on the jiu-jitsu timeline for sure. Yeah, it's going to be the Gordon Ryan Danaher era.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean that's bonkers. I enjoy your retirement, dude, if it's for real. What's really crazy is Gordon Ryan retires the same year that Cyborg wins Nogi Worlds for like the 5th time, or however many times he's won. He's won a bunch of times, and Cyborg is now, I think, 42 or 43. So like Gordon retires, and then like a couple days later, or it might have been the opposite order, a couple days earlier, Cyborg wins Worlds. So it's
Crazy
just
world,
like,
man.
It's a crazy world.
Crazy world.
People retiring at 24 years old, dude's still competing at 43 and winning Worlds.
Yeah, man.
Which I wanted to talk about something with the Nogi Worlds brackets this year. I think that we might be seeing a transition to the next tier of black belt athletes competing. I was looking at the brackets, and it was a lot of people that I didn't recognize, and a lot of names that I was expecting to be there are not competing anymore.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, shit, I'll tell you firsthand. We all have our competition window, like where we can get in there and really work. I mean, that doesn't mean you can't compete. Like for Cyborg, right? 42,
Right.
Okay,
Right.
Master Laborio. Shit, I mean, look at the last time he competed at ADCC. I believe he was in his late 50s.
Wow.
Like, I mean, dude. I mean, he's like the idea is you don't have to stop competing, right? It's how much competition you can endure, right? So when you have these dudes that are like coming out, like, when you watch like the Masters Worlds, that's where you start to see a lot of the bigger name guys, and it's amongst the jiu-jitsu like higher level guys, like it's not even a question. Like Masters Worlds, right? It's tough competition any way you cut it, but there's a different sort of respect and a different sort of way that people like handle themselves there, right?
At Masters.
Yeah, Masters, as opposed to just the onslaught of controlled chaos that is the higher level like adult worlds, right?
Yeah.
Which is not, I'm not saying anything negative against. It's very awesome to watch, and you get to see some amazing stuff. But those are the dudes that are like competing every fucking week.
Yeah.
Like every single day, every week, they're working out, they're competing, and they have that, so you tend to see every so often there's just like a big group of names that just don't appear anymore. And it's just a whole new slew of black belts.
Totally.
And that's part of it, right? Yeah, it's
And I think this is something that we've touched on in previous episodes, but the landscape of the jiu-jitsu competition world is changing, and
so much.
I think for a long time it was Pan Ams and Euros, Worlds. Pretty much, the IBJJF tournaments were kind of what you had to do to make a name for yourself. And you make a name for yourself, you get some sponsors. You get some sponsors, then you can make a little bit of money, and you can pretty much get paid to compete a little bit of money. But the real money was in seminars. And now I think we're seeing people, they're wanting to do the IBJJF tournaments to make a name for themselves, and that ups their value in booking super fights. So you're seeing people like Buchecha was just like, I'm not doing Worlds anymore. He's like, what?
Yeah.
I've won 11 titles at Worlds. Like, there's no point in me doing this
There's no
anymore.
more money in it,
Right?
Like, there was, I mean, you have your sponsors, and but after a while, you're not getting a giant check every time you win. It's
Exactly.
like, so yeah. Then you're looking at like, well, I better get over to EBI, or I better get over to an invitational super fight, or
Right.
because that's where money is to be made. Is
Yeah.
in the competitive no-gi grappling world.
Yep.
I would love to see it more in gi, but unfortunately, it seems like as an audience, we still have that issue of where when you talk about submission grappling, you talk about raw Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, 9 times out of 10, the majority of the crowd is going to want to see the no-gi match over the gi match.
Yeah, and that's something that I
And I
have
love the gi.
fallen victim to as well. Yeah, and I love training in the gi.
I love rolling in the gi.
But I find myself being drawn to the no-gi matchups. And I think a lot of that has to do with how much control you can have when you're in the gi.
Absolutely.
It's a much more stagnant, stifling form of grappling. It can be not as exciting to watch, even if you are in the know. Sometimes you're just like, all right, I can't watch these guys fight for one grip for 12 minutes and then see someone win on an advantage.
It's much more technical and rewarding, I feel like, in the gi when you're the competitor.
Absolutely.
When you're the one there. Watching it, I mean, dude, I watched one of my match from the Good Fight Brown Belt Worlds back, and the match went for like 25 minutes. And in my head, it was a lot different than me watching. But watching it back, I was like, damn, we were like in the same one position, like stalemated for like 5.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like fast forwarding through my own shit. I'm like, God damn, let's get to where something happens.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, grip fighting is like such a huge aspect. And it's just what, it isn't as exciting. Like, to see the scrambles, they don't happen as often, and it's great when it does happen. But, we want to see those guys, like, rip each other apart. Like, I mean, we want to see the leg locks. We want to see all we want to see the spine locks. We want to see everything.
Yeah. And I think really the only organization that's putting together gi super fights is Fight to Win. Yeah. And I think Polaris every once in a while, but
once in a blue moon.
Yeah, but really it's Fight to Win.
I like Fight to Win. Like, I know, I like Fight to Win, and their gi super. They have some great gi super matches when they do. It's just, again, I don't think it just translates over with the crowd as much as like the no-gi does.
Yeah.
So that's where I think for a long time, that's where we're really going to see that.
Yeah. What do you think about high rollers?
Oh, I would love to compete at them. Think about that. I really would, man. Oh man. So, again, this goes back to like a mental health thing. Like I've talked about this several times. Like I'm a cannabis user. Right? I use it responsibly. It's medication for me. It's medication for my post-traumatic stress disorder. It's medication for my slowly developing arthritis from years of using my hands as a mechanic before I spent all this time doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So, I'm not like the Jeff Glover status of it, but at the same time, I love the idea of high rollers.
Yeah,
like,
so tell everyone what it's about here, so everyone's on the same page.
So I mean, so essentially, from my take from it is it's a invitational, correct?
I believe so.
Cannabis friendly environment that you compete in. So I believe it was the inaugural event where it was Jeff Glover and his opponent. Mm-hmm. They just smoked a J on the mat.
Yeah.
Like right before they rolled.
Yep.
Now, some of you are going to listen to that and think it's crazy. But there's something to be said about somebody that uses this as medicine who is also, and correct me, anyone out there if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Jeff Glover has brought up countless times that that's exactly what he does. He also uses it as a form of medication. Mm-hmm. When you have somebody that can roll like that in that mindset, it's fucking scary. Because, bro, you really think outside the box, and the scariest thing is you are relaxed.
Yeah.
So that is one of the main reasons why in MMA, now outside of like competition, it's okay. But that's one of the main reasons why you don't see it. But yeah, so high rollers, right? So you can and I believe the prize is like a good amount of good quality ganj, man. Like
large bag of California weed.
Yeah, like so. I mean, I think it's pretty sweet. I think it kind of like mixes everything together. I do think though, as a community, and this is we all right. So I'm a big pro cannabis, advocate and user. I will also say I do not believe anyone under the age of 21 should be using cannabis.
That's fair.
And the reason for that is they've done studies proving that our brain stops developing. It doesn't really stop developing in adolescence until about the age of 21.
Right.
Right. So past that point, we're not really fucking up any development. Right. I've seen kids that I grew up with that I didn't actually start smoking weed until after I was diagnosed with cancer. Like that's actually when I really started. I did it in high school for a while, on and off. Right. But the kids in high school that I knew that stayed through it, I've seen guys that are still fried to this day.
Yeah.
Right. That have been smoking since they were 11 or 12. Right. Oof. So, I think since it's so big in the jiu-jitsu community, and this is something that everybody talks about, and there's a lot of people that smoke pot in the jiu-jitsu community, and anybody that says they don't, I have to look at them being I don't know if you're just not telling the truth or,
right.
But regardless, there's lots of kids that follow these people on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't post about my use socially on social media. Mm-hmm. I'm not hitting bongs because I got kids following me.
Yeah.
I have students that follow me.
Yep.
And I don't want them to think oh, coach does it, this is cool. Now, the thing that does get me worried about this tournament is I think we have a responsibility with the kids to be listen, yeah, this is something just like drinking something, adults go and have drinks. They have beers and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But they're glorifying it at this tournament. Maybe we glorify drinking at events, award ceremonies, things like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we're telling the kids to drink, and we always force that notion. Because it's so prominent in jiu-jitsu and we have things like high rollers, I think that we should maybe kind of just be kids really fucking shouldn't smoke until they're 21. So that's the only thing that worries me about it.
Yeah.
Is because I know my stepson who follows a lot of these guys, Eddie Bravo and stuff like that, he knows very well what it is
right
now because of the jiu-jitsu community.
Right.
Not even going to school and shit. So it's and I'm not saying anything against it or anything because obviously I said I'm pro, but it's I am against the younger kids using it, and since they emulate a lot of the no pun intended or pun intended, since they emulate a lot of the high rollers, right? We have to make sure that they understand when it's appropriate, when it's not, and at what point of their life that's something they could actually look into.
Right.
Which is why I'm also a big fan of legalizing it, because then we start setting some regulations on it.
Right, and it's less stigmatized. People can talk about it more openly. Yeah, I agree. Do you think that high rollers will ever be looked at as a serious competition, or do you think it'll just be something kind of fun for the jiu-jitsu community to go and participate in?
If you're a cannabis user, that shit's serious business, right? But I mean, if you're I think that it's probably for a long time it's gonna steer towards the idea that it's gonna be a fun event. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be one of those things where you're gonna see the best in the world out there training 6 days a week, doing laps in Olympic pool while smoking blunts,
right?
Trying to prepare for
right.
high rollers,
Right. Gordon Ryan's not all right, I got to get that high rollers title and then I'm out. That's the only one that's left.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, with the way everything's going though, with what we're doing with cannabis and things like that, then maybe eventually, who knows? I mean, if it produces enough money as an industry, it's going to become fucking something, right? I mean,
that's the truth, Ruth.
Money talks. If that bag of weed starts to come with a fat ass check attached to it, then it's going to become serious business.
Yes, there you go. That's what's going to put it on the map. Mm-hmm. Which who knows? You get enough people competing in that, might start generating.
I would like to
money.
Just say to high rollers that if they haven't considered having somebody dressed as Towley at every event as a permanent mascot.
Oh, I can't forget to bring a towel.
that you should do it. All right, there we go.
Yeah, that would go over swimmingly. Yeah, just giant towel-y mascot running around the event, handing out towels, Yeah, I think that would go over really well. So, what do you think about Kyle Boehm coming up the year that he's had as a black belt? He's like 9-0 or something.
I'm glad you said it, because out of one person that I would like to see Gordon roll against coming up is him.
Yeah,
is him. He is a man. He's built well, and I don't know if I've ever seen anybody like built like him run the 10th Planet system.
Yeah.
Not even like, I always think about like, when I think about guys that are like bigger and work the system very well, I think like guys like Ben Saunders, things like that.
Yep.
But this is different, because this is like pure grappling, solid leg game.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe like one of the dudes I lost to in finish, Alec Hubin, right? He ended up rolling against Kyle in a tournament shortly after that, and Kyle leg locked him. And I remember trying to leg lock him, and it was like leg locking a tree. And I realized, all right, I got to work on my finishes after that.
Yeah.
Shortly after, Kyle hits him, and I'm like, okay, so it's not impossible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then I started watching him after that, because he did what I couldn't do in real time. And I'm impressed every time I see him roll. I would like to see him get a shot at Ryan before Ryan calls it quits, just to see. I mean, I don't know if he's on the level yet, I'll be real.
Yeah.
That's a different level of animal. But if there's anybody coming up that I would like to see that happen with, it's him. But overall, that aside, I'm just excited to see what he has to offer. I think that it's just the beginning for him, and I think his future is going to be huge.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see him get that Tim Spriggs match back.
Oh, yeah.
Because he, that was, I think that was 2 years ago, and I think Kyle Boehm was at the time, I think Eddie Bravo said he was a blue belt, but Eddie Bravo was like, yeah, but he ain't no motherfucking blue belt.
Yeah.
And he just got promoted to his black belt. So it's been a good 2 years for Kyle Boehm.
Yes, it has,
so
yeah.
I would like to see him get that rematch. I think the outcome would be very different.
I do too.
I don't know if he would get the win or if he would get the finish, but I don't think that it would, he got controlled. He really positionally got controlled. I don't think that it would happen this time
I don't think
around.
so either. I think that the hook game is different. His leg game has come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be a different outcome.
His the finals match at the Fanatics Invitational that he had against Lucas Barbosa, that really surprised me, because I thought Lucas Barbosa was going to have a very similar approach and game plan as Tim Spriggs, but he's a lot bigger, and I thought he was just going to flatten him out, and he was going to get the win, but he didn't. And Boehm got him in overtime. I don't know if he got him with ride time or if he choked him in OT, but...
And that kind of just shows the level that he's come from. Like, taking, like, your end... I think I like that the analysis of Barbosa compared to Spriggs, but bigger, like his game plan. So... What did he do? I mean, essentially, he ends up going against, like, a better version of what he lost to 2 years ago.
Right.
And... dominates with position, or was it ride time?
I don't know. It was ride time. Yeah. I don't know.
It might have been a choke, dude. It might have been was it? I can't remember. All right, but regardless, he did win, right?
He did
So
win.
at the end of the day, that's development, right?
Yeah,
that's development, and so if we see the Spriggs match again, I don't think it's going to be the same match at all.
And not only did he win the black belt invitational, but like 5 months earlier, he was a brown belt, and he won the brown belt invitational as well. Like, the dude's just having a fucking great
on fire,
year.
man.
Yeah,
he's on fire. He's going to keep going. I mean, the last people, like, you look at everybody else who's done stuff like this similar in the past. I mean, the sky's been the limit.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting. I don't know, does he have anything coming up? What's the next?
He's in the Kasai super heavyweight tournament.
Right. He is,
which is got a great lineup: Vinny Mag, Lucas Barbosa, Kyle Boehm, Nicky Rod,
A couple of other really big names. I'm stoked for that one. And I'm going Kyle Boehm and Vinnie Mag because I'm 10th Planet all the way. Yeah, that's gonna be crazy.
I think that I think that'll be a good one. Kyle's gonna turn some heads on that one, I think.
Yeah, overall. I think so too.
I mean, especially like I'm always a Vinnie Mag fan, but we were talking about it with like seeing the new breed come up, and a lot of these guys they've been around for a while. They don't get younger. Their game's developed for that.
Yeah.
They always stay in shape, but when you have someone young and successful, they're only getting better.
Yeah.
And when they're at this level, I mean, it's not like where you see a guy who's your age in your bracket and you roll and you both, there's a winner and a loser, and then you go and you work on something, you come back and now somebody's better than the other or something like that. With this situation, it's like, okay, you barely beat him when he wasn't great.
Yeah.
But now he's so fucking good. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes down.
Yeah.
It's real. Yeah. It's going to be cool, man. I don't know. I think he's going to do awesome.
And what other competitions do we have coming up? We got some good stuff coming up. Euros is coming up, which let's go Keenan. That's where I'm at. I'd like to see Keenan win Euros. And
I know Thor's fighting Adam
Wardzinski. Yeah.
It's like that's a European event too.
Is it Grapple Fest?
It is Grapple Fest.
Okay.
I think it is Grapple Fest.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to be a great match.
That is going to be.
Wardzinski actually won. He won the European ADCC trials. That's how he got to ADCC, and then he took first in his division at Nogi Worlds 2019. So Wardzinski, no slouch.
Yes, absolutely. I do think there's something that's going to be translated with the difference in game planning.
Okay.
I do think that it's going to be, as somebody who, comes from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, when you're rolling against somebody like Thor, right, certain things are not going to work the same way that they would work when the rules favor you.
Right.
I will say that. I got a lot of confidence in Thor on this one.
Yeah, I gotta try and figure out if there's a way that I can watch that when it comes out, or maybe I'll just try and see what Thor posts on the gram.
I think it's gonna be good either way, but
yeah, I would be surprised if Thor lost. I'm seeing a heel hook. I'm seeing an inside heel hook.
I'm just thinking about all that hype. When Kevin Casey rolled against Thor, and everybody was like, "Oh man, it's Kevin Casey." It's Thor.
Yeah, and he heel hooked him real quick. And what I loved about that match is there's a video on YouTube where you can see from Zach and JM's perspective. They're on the sidelines watching it, and he gets the finish, and they just look at each other and they go, "Was that warm-ups? That was warm-ups, wasn't it?" Yeah. So they're like, this is the stuff that they do for warm-ups, and then they're going out and they're tapping Hicks and Gracie black belts and stuff at the highest level. It was great. Was that warm-ups? Yeah, that was warm-ups. So yeah, Thor's gonna kill it, and we actually, fortunately, have we got him coming for a seminar.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
In March, so that's going to be great.
It is. There's actually it's the only time ever that my wife and I, since we've only, as I say ever, like we've owned the gym for longer than 2 years, but we're like 2 years deep in the gym right now, give or take, and I think actually give. We we've had a bunch of seminars, and any gym owners or people that have been part in inner gym workings know the seminar struggle. It's a real fucking thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can have some of the best in the world like come through, or just some like high quality guys, and if you do it on the wrong day, wrong time slot, don't charge the right price, it's in a certain area, everything you turn to shit, right?
Right.
I will say this: we haven't even made it public. I only have 6 spots left. It's almost sold out because of the size of our gym. We capped it at what we thought would be a reasonable number, where we're not going to be like sardines in a can.
Right.
And, everybody be happy with the outcome. And Yeah, we have 6 spots left, and I'm pretty sure once we do go public, it's going to be done and closed within a day.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's going to be, I'm really excited. Like, as somebody that gets to train with him, his insight, the people that he goes against, and he's such a good instructor too. The people that he goes against, right? It's like he sits and dissects them and, figures out, and then he looks at these other high-level attacks that are successful and starts to translate it into his game. And, I've learned some phenomenal shit from him, and I really can't wait to see what he's just going to bring to the table, like just to the seminar in general. I've heard good stuff about the seminars he's done so far. Very excited to have him here.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time. I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. I very selfishly, I would love for him to focus on his overhook system. I've seen him hit some really nasty submissions. He hit a really wicked armbar on Tamda McRory.
Hell yes, I've drilled that shit. That's the overhook armbar system that he has is. I always favored the underhook right up until I started working with him. And then in certain situations, I'm just like, dude, it's all about the overhook.
Yeah.
It's all about the overhook. Like, and it's like, there's so many armbar options. There's so many captures off of it. And the way that he moves and I'm sure it's going to be, whatever it is, it's going to be good. Because everything he's shown so far, I've been like, well, I'm keeping this. Like, to the point where I'm usually driving the 3 hours home, recording myself, talking about all the techniques we went over so I don't forget it.
Right, so you don't lose it immediately. All right, so I think we're coming up on about 45 minutes here. Yeah, we're at 46 minutes. I think we got to wrap this up. We're sitting at the gym, and we got another class coming in soon.
Yep,
so it's time to go home and have breakfast, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I still got to wait till 12 o'clock. I fast till 12, so even after rolling,
Intermittent fasting.
Fasting, man.
All right.
Get ready.
So, what do you have any shout-outs?
Besides, do I have any shout-outs? This week, not really off the top of my head. No. Nothing really to drive home.
Okay.
Other than, I guess, just kind of, just maybe one thing just to remember, just with, going back to our first topic of conversation and the whole mental health thing is, like if anybody's listening out there, you're Jiu-Jitsu or anything like that, and you're struggling, like, remember just like when you started Jiu-Jitsu, being on the bottom, it sucked, right? But you work through it and you end up coming up, right? You got to be comfortable at the most uncomfortable situations. It sounds like a broken record, but it's true. It's not the end of the road. There are options. If you're struggling with substance abuse, reach out and get help. You're not the only one. You're really not the only one. And I think the more people that actually like reach out and say something, you'll find out how many people around you might have suffered the same, might be going through the same thing, might be recovering the same way you are, might be going to a similar treatment plan that you're going to. So just reach out and talk. I mean, because, it's not always just about suicide. I mean, that's only one end of the mental health ladder.
Right.
It's like there's also like these events that happen that people like kind of like fly off the hinge and things like that. And you can hurt those around you and affect those around you and just kind of spread it. So now it's going to affect somebody else down the line.
Yeah.
And if you're struggling, no matter what it is, just get help. And Jiu-Jitsu, again, it will help. And it is therapy, but it is not always the complete answer. Sometimes it's just a small piece to a much bigger puzzle.